The Italian leather chair in Jinwoo Park's private office cost more than most people's cars. Rhonda Mitchell didn't know that when her exhausted body collapsed into it at 2:47 a.m. She'd been scrubbing floors for 16 hours straight across 3 different jobs. Her knees ached, her hands were raw from bleach, her eyes burned with an exhaustion she couldn't fight anymore. Just 5 minutes, she told herself as her eyelids drooped. Nobody comes to the office this late anyway. She was wrong. At 3:15 a.m., Jinwoo Park's private elevator opened with a soft chime that Rhonda didn't hear. His 6.3 frame stepped into the darkness of his private office, illuminated only by the Chicago skyline glowing through floor-to-ceiling windows. He flipped the light switch and there she was, a woman asleep in his chair behind his desk, her cleaning cart abandoned beside her, buckets and mops scattered like she'd just given up on life. Jinwoo's jaw clenched so tight his teeth hurt. His head of security, a former Marine named Marcus, appeared at his shoulder. "Sir, I'll remove her immediately." "No." Jinwoo's voice was cold as winter in Alaska. "Let her sleep." Marcus blinked in confusion. Everyone who worked for Jinwoo Park knew about his obsessive need for order, for control, for cleanliness. The man wore gloves just to shake hands at business meetings. He had his office deep cleaned twice daily. He'd once made an example of an associate for leaving a coffee ring on a conference table, and now he wanted to let some random cleaning woman sleep in his personal space? "Sir?" Marcus asked carefully. Jinwoo's dark eyes never left Rhonda's sleeping form as he picked up his phone. "Get me the number for Morrison Cleaning Services, the owner's personal cell." "Yes, I know what time it is. I don't care." 5 minutes later, he hung up and continued watching Rhonda sleep, his mind already calculating. Then he made another call. "Marcus, bring me a stick." "A stick, sir?" "A ruler. Something sharp and pointy. Something long." Marcus knew better than to question him. "Yes, sir." 2 minutes later, Marcus returned with a long wooden ruler. Jinwoo took it, his face a mask of cold fury. "Everyone out," Jinwoo commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "Now." The security team exchanged confused looks, but filed into the elevator without another word. The doors closed with a soft whisper, leaving Jinwoo alone with the intruder who dared to violate his sanctuary. He slowly pulled on a pair of black leather gloves, the kind he wore when contamination was unavoidable. His movements were precise, controlled, and terrifying. He approached the chair, ruler held like a weapon. Rhonda slept on, completely unaware that the most dangerous man in Chicago was standing over her, preparing to wake her in a way she would never forget. What is Jinwoo about to do with that stick? And how did a cleaning lady end up asleep in the office of a Korean mafia boss who controls everything and everyone around him? If you're already hooked and need to know what happens next, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now and subscribe, because this story is going to take you places you won't expect. Share it with someone who loves a good story. Help us build this community of people who appreciate real, raw storytelling. Now, let's go back to where this whole nightmare began. 3 days earlier, the smell of disinfectant burned Rhonda's nose as she sat beside Mama Gloria's hospital bed. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the sterile room. Mama Gloria was unconscious, had been for 2 days now, her body too weak to fight the cancer that was eating her from the inside out. A doctor in blue scrubs entered quietly. "Miss Mitchell." Rhonda stood up. "Yes. How is she?" Dr. Chen's expression was kind but serious. "Her condition is deteriorating. The experimental treatment is working, but slowly. We need to perform the surgery to remove the primary tumor now, or we risk losing the window of opportunity we've created." "When? How soon?" "Within the week." "But..." Dr. Chen hesitated. "There's the issue of the outstanding balance. The hospital requires at least half the total cost up front before they'll schedule the surgery." "Half?" Rhonda's stomach dropped. "How much is half?" "At least $140,000. $140,000. Rhonda felt the room tilt. She made $12 an hour at the diner, $15 at the cleaning company. Even working 80 hours a week, she'd be lucky to clear $2,000 a month after rent and bills. "I don't have that kind of money," Rhonda whispered, the words barely audible. "I understand. But without the surgery..." Dr. Chen paused. "I'm sorry, Miss Mitchell. We need to see some progress on the payment plan by the end of the week." Dr. Chen left, and Rhonda sank back into her chair, the weight of $140,000 crushing her chest. Rhonda's best friend, Tasha, found her 20 minutes later in the hospital chapel. which was empty except for Rhonda and an elderly woman praying in Spanish in the front row. "There you are." Tasha slid into the pew beside Rhonda, balancing 2 cups of terrible hospital coffee. "Nurse Deborah said you looked like you were about to pass out. What happened?" $140,000. "What?" "That's what I need. Half of Mama's bills to get her the surgery by the end of the week." Rhonda took the coffee gratefully, letting the warmth seep into her cold hands. "I make maybe $2,000 a month. You do the math." Tasha let out a low whistle. Jesus, I don't think even he has that kind of money to spare right now. Despite everything, Tasha cracked a small smile at that. "Girl, you better not let Sister Patricia hear you talking like that. She'll have the whole church praying over you for blasphemy." Rhonda almost laughed, but it came out as a sob instead. Tasha immediately wrapped her arms around her, and Rhonda let herself break down properly. The ugly kind of crying where you can't breathe, and your nose runs and you sound like a wounded animal. "I can't lose her, Tasha," Rhonda gasped between sobs. "She's all I got. If Mama dies..." "Your mama's not going to die," Tasha said firmly. "Gloria Mitchell is the strongest woman I know. She survived growing up in the rough parts of the city. She survived raising you by herself after your daddy left. She survived working 2 jobs for 20 years. She's going to survive this too. But not if I can't pay for her surgery? Then we figure out how to pay for it." Tasha pulled back and looked Rhonda dead in the eye. "How many jobs you working right now?" 3. Morning shift at the diner. Afternoon cleaning offices downtown. Overnight cleaning at the airport. "That's not enough. You need more." Rhonda let out a bitter laugh. "More? Tasha, I already sleep like 4 hours a day. When exactly am I supposed to fit in another job?" "I don't know, but you're going to have to figure it out." Tasha wasn't being cruel. She was being real, which was what Rhonda needed. "Look, my cousin Sierra works for this fancy cleaning company that services all the high-rise buildings in the Loop. Morrison Services or something. They pay better than what you're making now, and they're always hiring because the work is hard and most people quit." "How much better?" $25 an hour plus overtime. And girl, there's always overtime. These rich folks want their offices cleaned at weird hours, so you end up working double shifts all the time." Rhonda's mind was already calculating. $25 an hour, overtime rates. If she could get 40 hours a week there, plus keep the diner job. "Can you text me Sierra's number?" "Already doing it." Tasha pulled out her phone. "But Rhonda, I'm serious about what I said. You need to take care of yourself too. Promise that you'll at least eat 1 real meal a day and take your vitamins." "Deal." "Deal." They shook on it like they were 10 years old again, making pinky promises about sharing snacks and keeping secrets. Back when the biggest problem in Rhonda's life was whether she'd get new shoes before school started. Now she was staring down a $140,000 debt and her mother's potential death sentence. "Whatever it takes," Rhonda repeated to herself as she headed upstairs to visit her mama before her diner shift started. "Whatever it takes." 3 weeks later, Rhonda started working for Morrison Cleaning Services. The orientation was held in a dingy office building that smelled like mildew and desperation. Rhonda sat in a folding chair between a woman who kept coughing without covering her mouth and a teenage boy who couldn't have been more than 16, probably lying about his age to get work. At the front of the room, a heavy-set man in his 50s with sweat stains under his arms gestured at a PowerPoint presentation that looked like it was made in 1997. "Morrison Services provides premium cleaning for Chicago's elite business community," he droned. "Our clients expect excellence. They expect discretion. They expect invisibility." The coughing woman raised her hand. "What's that mean, invisibility?" "It means you do your job without being noticed. You clean after hours. You don't touch anything personal. You don't snoop. You don't steal. You don't exist to them except as the reason their office is spotless when they arrive in the morning. Understand?" Everyone nodded. "Good. Now, let's talk about our most important client." Mr. Morrison clicked to the next slide, and a massive skyscraper appeared on the screen. "The Park Building, 68 floors of office space, luxury condos, and retail. We service the entire building, but floors 60 through 68 are special." "Why?" someone asked. "Because that's where he operates." Mr. Morrison's voice took on an almost reverent tone. "Jinwoo Park, head of the Park Organization, one of the most powerful men in America. He owns this building and controls operations across the country." Rhonda leaned forward, studying the building on the screen. She'd seen it before. Everyone in Chicago had. It was impossible to miss. A gleaming tower of steel and glass that dominated the skyline like a middle finger to poverty. Mr. Park is particular. Mr. Morrison continued carefully. He has very specific requirements for how his personal floors are maintained. Everything must be perfect. And I mean perfect. You miss a spot, you're fired. You move something on his desk, you're fired. You're late, you're fired. You breathe wrong, you're probably fired. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Mr. Morrison didn't laugh. I'm not joking. In the past year, I've lost 14 employees to Mr. Park's standards. He calls me personally to report infractions. So if you're assigned to the park floors, you better be ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Questions? Rhonda raised her hand. How much does the park assignment pay? Mr. Morrison smiled for the first time. $30 an hour plus overtime plus a completion bonus if you last 6 months without being fired. The room went silent. $30 an hour was life-changing money for people like them. How do we get that assignment? Rhonda asked. You don't get it. You survive long enough for me to trust you. And then maybe, I'll put you on the park rotation. Mr. Morrison's smile faded. But let me be clear, that job will eat you alive. Jinwoo Park is a perfectionist with OCD and control issues that would make a military general look relaxed. He will make your life hell. He will find every flaw. He will... I'll take it, Rhonda interrupted. Everyone turned to stare at her. Mr. Morrison raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I'll take the park assignment. Whenever you're ready to trust me, I want it. Rhonda's voice was steady, confident. Inside, her heart was pounding, but she couldn't let that show. I need the money. I'll work harder than anyone. I won't complain. I won't quit. Mr. Morrison studied her for a long moment. You got family problems? Medical bills? Debt? Rhonda nodded. Everyone who volunteers for park duty has something desperate driving them, Mr. Morrison said quietly. It's the only reason anyone's willing to put up with him. All right, Miss Mitchell. Rhonda Mitchell. Miss Mitchell, you start on the regular rotation tomorrow. Night shift, floors 10 through 20. You do good work. Don't give me problems. Show up on time every day for 2 weeks. Then we'll talk about park. Thank you, sir. After the orientation, Rhonda walked out into the October Chicago wind, feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. $30 an hour. If she could get that park job and keep her diner shifts, if she could work enough overtime, if she could just hold it together for a few months, she could save her mama. Whatever it takes, she thought again as she headed for the bus stop. Whatever it takes. Rhonda lasted exactly 13 days before Mr. Morrison called her into his office. You're good, he said without preamble. Fast, thorough, no complaints from any of the building managers. Sierra was right about you. Rhonda stood in front of his desk, still in her cleaning uniform, smelling like industrial cleaner and exhaustion. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. Mr. Morrison leaned back in his chair, which creaked under his weight. I'm short-staffed on the park floors. 3 people quit last week. One of them actually cried when she turned in her resignation. Said she'd rather be unemployed than deal with his insanity for 1 more day. I won't quit, Rhonda said. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Rhonda met his eyes directly. My mama has stage 4 cancer. Her surgery costs more money than I'll make in 3 years. I need this job, Mr. Morrison. I won't quit. I won't mess up. I'll do whatever it takes. Mr. Morrison sighed heavily. You're going to regret those words. But all right. Starting tonight, you're on park duty, floors 60 through 68. You work from midnight to 8 a.m. The floors have to be pristine before the first employees arrive at 7:30. What about my diner job? That's your problem to figure out. Park is overnight. You want the money? You make it work. Rhonda did quick math in her head. Diner shift ended at 11 p.m. If she took the express bus, she could make it to the park building by midnight, work until 8 a.m., sleep until 2 p.m., back to the diner by 3 p.m. 4 hours of sleep. She'd survived on less during exam weeks at community college before she'd had to drop out. I can make it work, Rhonda said. Then congratulations, Miss Mitchell. Mr. Morrison slid a thick binder across his desk. This is the park manual. It contains every single requirement for cleaning his floors. Read it, memorize it, live it. Your first shift is tonight at midnight. Don't be late. At 11:47 p.m., Rhonda stood in front of the park building, neck craned back, trying to see the top. It was even more intimidating up close. The glass panels reflected the city lights like a mirror, making the whole structure seem to glow with contained power. The lobby visible through the windows was all marble and modern art, and the kind of wealth Rhonda had only ever seen in movies. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked through the revolving door. "Cleaning crew?" the security guard at the desk asked without looking up. "Yes, sir. Rhonda Mitchell. First night on park floors." Now the guard looked up, and something like sympathy crossed his face. He was black, maybe in his 60s, with gray in his hair and kind eyes. "First night. Lord have mercy. You know what you're getting into. Young lady? I read the manual. Reading it and living it are two different things." The guard, his name tag said Walter, pulled out a tablet and had Rhonda sign in. "Mr. Park is particular about everything, and I mean everything. Last girl who worked his floors got fired for leaving the vacuum cleaner cord coiled the wrong direction." "You're joking." "I wish I was." Walter handed her a badge and a key card. "This gets you elevator access to floors 60 and above. Service elevator is around the corner. You'll be working alone up there. Mr. Park doesn't like multiple people in his space." "Alone? All 9 floors?" "All 9 floors. You got 8 hours. Better get started." By 2:30 a.m., Rhonda understood why 3 people had quit last week. The park floors were immaculate to begin with. It was like cleaning a space that was already clean, searching for invisible dirt that might offend a man who apparently saw imperfection that normal humans couldn't perceive. But it wasn't just the cleaning that was exhausting, it was the pressure. Every surface Rhonda touched felt important. The conference table on the 63rd floor was probably worth more than her childhood home. The modern art on the walls looked like something from a museum. The carpet was so thick and perfect she felt guilty stepping on it with her discount sneakers. And everywhere there were signs of Jinwoo Park's obsessive control. Books arranged by height and color. Coffee mugs in the break room placed handle out, evenly spaced. Even the pens on the desks were aligned parallel to the desk edges. Rhonda found herself holding her breath as she cleaned, terrified of disturbing the perfect order of this perfect world. By the time she reached the 68th floor, Jinwoo Park's personal executive suite, she was running behind schedule and exhausted to her bones. The executive suite was like something out of a movie. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, a desk the size of her apartment's kitchen made from dark wood that probably cost more than her car. Real art on the walls, not prints, but actual paintings with texture and signatures. And that chair. That beautiful, soft Italian leather chair behind the massive desk. Rhonda knew she shouldn't. The manual explicitly said never to sit in client furniture, but her feet were screaming, her back was aching, and that chair looked so comfortable. "Just for a second," she told herself, "just to rest my legs while I catch my breath." She sank into the chair and it was like sitting on a cloud. The leather was butter soft, the cushioning perfect, the height adjusted exactly right. Rhonda closed her eyes. Just 1 minute. Then back to work. She woke up to something poking her arm. Not a finger. A ruler. "Wake up." The voice was deep, cold, and very, very angry. Rhonda's eyes flew open, and there he was. He had to be the most gorgeous man she had ever set eyes on. The stranger stood over her, 6'3" of controlled fury in a 3-piece suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her salary. His skin was a warm honey brown, his black hair perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. But it was his eyes that made Rhonda's blood run cold. Dark brown, almost black, and absolutely merciless. Rhonda tried to scramble out of the chair, but her exhausted body didn't cooperate. She half fell, half stumbled, catching herself on the desk. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. You fell asleep in my chair. In my office." Each word was precisely articulated, like he was speaking to someone very stupid. "Do you have any idea how many health codes you just violated?" Her brain struggled to process. Wait, his office? This man was Jinwoo Park? She had imagined him to be just a grumpy old man. Looked like she only got the former right. "I'm sorry, Mr. Park. I was just... Get out." Jinwoo's voice didn't rise in volume, but the command in it made Rhonda flinch. "I'm calling Morrison right now. You're fired. Security will escort you from the building." Panic seized Rhonda's chest. No. She couldn't get fired. Not now. Not when Mama's surgery was scheduled for next week, and she was already short on the payment plan installment. Please, Mr. Park. Rhonda's voice cracked. Please don't fire me. I need this job. My mother is sick. She has cancer, and I need the money for her surgery. I'll work harder. I'll never sit down again. Everyone has a sob story. Jinwoo interrupted coldly. He walked around to his desk, giving Rhonda a wide berth she noticed, and reached for his phone. Yours doesn't interest me. Rhonda did something stupid, then something desperate. She lunged forward and grabbed his wrist before he could pick up the phone. Please, she begged. Please, just... The world exploded. Not with pain or disgust, but with a jolt of pure electricity that shot up Rhonda's arm and straight through her entire body. It was like touching a live wire, but instead of hurting, it sent pleasant tingles everywhere, a warm, shocking current that made her gasp and let go instantly. Jinwoo recoiled like she'd burned him. His whole body jerked backward with such force that his elbow caught the edge of the desk. The phone went flying. It arced through the air as if in slow motion, tumbling end over end, and smashed against the marble floor with a sound like a gunshot. The screen shattered into 1,000 pieces. For a moment, there was absolute silence. Rhonda stared at the destroyed phone, her mind reeling from the strange, pleasant shock she'd just felt. Jinwoo stared at his bare wrist where she'd touched him, his face twisted in something between shock and something else entirely, something that looked almost like astonishment. That phone, Jinwoo said very quietly, his eyes still fixed on his wrist, cost $80,000. Rhonda's world tilted. 80? What? Custom-made, encrypted, one of a kind, and you just destroyed it. Jinwoo finally looked up at her, and there was something strange in his gaze now, something calculating. You're going to pay for it, every penny. I don't have $80,000. You will work it off. Jinwoo's voice was cold, but his eyes kept flicking back to his wrist. Starting tonight. Work it off how? Rhonda asked, her mind still spinning from that strange electric sensation. I have a chef, 2 housekeepers, and 2 maintenance staff who handle everything in my home, Jinwoo said, his voice businesslike, but his eyes still distant. I'm going to give them all extended vacation. You're going to replace them. Rhonda's mouth fell open. 1 person can't do the work of 5 people. Then you'll work very hard. Jinwoo pulled out another phone, apparently he had backups, and started typing. You'll arrive at my penthouse every morning at 6 a.m. You'll cook, clean, run errands, and handle every aspect of my household until 6 p.m. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's... No, Rhonda interrupted, her pride finally kicking in. No, I'm not going to be your servant. I'd rather go to jail. She turned and ran out of the office, not waiting to be escorted. She didn't look back. She just ran, her heart pounding, her mind reeling from that electric touch and the crazy offer and the sheer arrogance of this man who thought he could buy her life. She ran all the way to the service elevator and didn't stop until she was out of the building and on the street, hailing a cab to the hospital. Rhonda burst into Cook County Hospital at 4:12 a.m., her chest heaving, her mind a mess. She ran to Mama Gloria's room and found a team of doctors and nurses surrounding the bed. Her heart stopped. What's happening? What's wrong? Dr. Chen turned, his face grim. Miss Mitchell, your mother's condition has worsened. She's gone into cardiac arrest. We've revived her, but she's critical. We need to perform emergency surgery now if she has any chance of survival. Then do it, Rhonda cried. We can't, Dr. Chen said gently. Not without the payment. The hospital requires at least half the total cost before we can proceed with a procedure this risky. That's $140,000, Miss Mitchell. We need it now. Just as he said it, 2 large men in dark suits appeared behind her. Marcus, Jinwoo's head of security, and another guard. Miss Mitchell, Marcus said, his voice cold. Mr. Park requires your presence immediately. No, Rhonda cried, gesturing to her mother's room. I'm not going anywhere. My mother is dying. She'll die anyway if you don't come with us, the other guard said, grabbing her arm. Just then, Marcus's phone rang. He answered it. Sir. Rhonda could hear Jinwoo's voice, faint but clear on the other end. Is that the doctor? Put him on speaker. Marcus tapped the screen. Dr. Chen's voice filled the small space. I'm sorry. Without the funds, there's nothing more we can do. We can't pay it, Rhonda whispered. Jinwoo's voice cut through the speaker, sharp and commanding. All of it. The full balance. Transfer the funds now. I want her in surgery within the hour. Marcus looked at Rhonda, his expression unreadable. Sir, are you sure? The total is… I know what the total is. Do it. Marcus hung up and made a call. Jenkins, transfer $300,000 to Cook County Hospital. Patient Gloria Mitchell. Mark it as payment in full. Now. Dr. Chen stared, his mouth open. Who is this? Someone who believes in paying his debts. Jinwoo's voice came through the phone again, directed at Rhonda this time. And collecting what he's owed. You refused my offer, Miss Mitchell. So now the terms have changed. Your mother's medical bills are paid in full, but you now owe me $380,000. At $30 an hour, working for me 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. That will take you approximately 2 years to pay off. Rhonda felt the blood drain from her face. You can't… I already did. Jinwoo's voice was cold, final. You start at my penthouse tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. The line went dead. Dr. Chen stared at Rhonda. I don't understand what's going on here, but the funds have just cleared. Your mother is being prepped for surgery now. She has a chance. Rhonda looked through the window into the operating room where they were wheeling her mother away. A chance. That's all she'd ever wanted. And the price was 2 years of her life. If you think Jinwoo just played Rhonda like a fiddle and she's trapped for good, comment, she's stuck. If you think there's more to Jinwoo's obsession to get her to work for him, comment, it's not about the phone. Either way, smash that like button and subscribe, and let's see what happens when Rhonda moves into Jinwoo's house. The address Jinwoo had texted Rhonda was in the Gold Coast, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Chicago. Rhonda stood outside the sleek glass building at 5:52 a.m., staring up at the tower that overlooked Lake Michigan like it owned the view. She'd taken 3 buses to get here because she couldn't afford an Uber, and now she stood in the private lobby with a key card in her shaking hand. The elevator was private. It went directly to the penthouse. No stops in between. You can do this, Rhonda told herself. It's just 2 years. 2 years of cooking and cleaning for a control-freak mafia boss. And then mom is healthy and you're free. And this is all just a bad memory. She swiped the key card. The elevator doors opened. Rhonda stepped inside, and the doors closed behind her with a soft whisper that sounded like a trap snapping shut. The penthouse was exactly what Rhonda expected, and somehow worse. Everything was white, and chrome, and glass. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. The art on the walls was definitely real, and definitely worth more than Rhonda would make in her entire lifetime. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a view of Lake Michigan that was so beautiful it hurt. And it was absolutely, perfectly, obsessively clean. Not a speck of dust, not a single item out of place. Even the throw pillows on the couch were arranged at precise angles like someone had measured them with a protractor. You're 8 minutes early. Rhonda jumped and spun around. Jinwoo stood in a doorway she hadn't noticed, dressed in workout clothes, expensive athletic wear that showed off his broad shoulders and muscular frame. He had a towel around his neck and a water bottle in his hand. He must have just finished exercising. He looked good. Really good. The kind of good that made Rhonda's mouth go dry despite the fact that she was supposed to hate him. I thought early was better than late, Rhonda said, trying to keep her voice steady. Early is unpredictable. Unpredictable disrupts my schedule. Jinwoo's dark eyes swept over her, assessing. But I suppose it shows initiative. There's a schedule on the kitchen counter. Follow it exactly. I'll be in my office working. Don't disturb me unless the building is on fire. He disappeared through another door before Rhonda could respond. Rhonda stood in the massive living room alone and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. 2 years, she reminded herself. You can survive anything for 2 years. The schedule was typed, printed, and laminated. Of course it was. Daily schedule, household staff. 6 a.m. Prepare breakfast. Egg white omelet with spinach and tomatoes. No cheese. 1 slice whole grain toast. Dry. Black coffee. French press. Exactly 4 minutes brewing time. Fresh orange juice squeezed that morning. Not from carton. 7 a.m. Serve breakfast. Place in dining room on Eastern placemat. Utensils exactly 1 inch from plate edge. Coffee cup handle at 3 position. 7:30 a.m. Clean kitchen. Wash all dishes immediately. Wipe counters with antibacterial solution. Mop floor. The list went on for pages. Every minute of Rhonda's 12-hour day was accounted for, scheduled, controlled, just like everything else in Jinwoo Park's life. Rhonda found the kitchen, which was bigger than her entire apartment, and got to work. The omelet was a disaster. Not a burn down the kitchen disaster like some people might manage, but definitely not the perfect fluffy creation the schedule seemed to demand. The eggs were a little rubbery, the vegetables weren't distributed evenly, and when Rhonda tried to flip it, the whole thing broke apart into scrambled egg chunks. Damn it, Rhonda muttered, staring at the mess in the pan. She scooped it onto a plate anyway, arranged it as nicely as she could, and added the toast and coffee and orange juice, which had taken her 20 minutes to squeeze by hand because, of course, Jinwoo didn't have an electric juicer. He had some fancy manual press that required actual effort. At exactly 7:00 a.m., Rhonda carried the tray to the dining room. Jinwoo was already seated, reading something on his tablet, wearing a fresh suit that probably cost more than Rhonda's car. He didn't look up when she entered. Rhonda set the plate down on the placemat, eastern side, just like the schedule said. She positioned the utensils exactly 1 inch from the edge. She turned the coffee cup so the handle was at 3i. Jinwoo glanced at the food. His expression didn't change, but Rhonda saw his jaw tighten slightly. "This omelet is scrambled," he said quietly. "I know. I'm not a chef. I did my best." "Your best resulted in scrambled eggs when I requested an omelet." "Then maybe you should lower your expectations," Rhonda shot back before she could stop herself. Jinwoo's eyes flicked up to meet hers, and for a moment, Rhonda thought she'd just made a terrible mistake. This man owned her for the next 2 years. He could make her life hell if he wanted to, but instead of anger, something that looked almost like amusement flickered in his dark eyes. "Lower my expectations," he repeated slowly, like he was testing out a foreign concept. "No one has ever suggested that before. Maybe they should have." Jinwoo picked up his fork and took a bite of the scrambled omelet thing. He chewed slowly, thoughtfully, then swallowed. "It's adequate," he said finally. "Tomorrow, watch a video on how to make a proper omelet. YouTube has thousands of tutorials. Pick one and learn." "Yes, sir," Rhonda said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "And Miss Mitchell?" Jinwoo's voice stopped her as she turned to leave. "I don't require you to call me sir. Jinwoo is fine." Rhonda looked back at him, surprised. "You want me to call you by your first name? We'll be working closely together for 2 years. Formality seems unnecessary." He took a sip of his coffee, and Rhonda saw the tiniest hint of satisfaction cross his face. "The coffee is perfect, by the way. However you made it, do it exactly the same tomorrow." It was probably the closest thing to a compliment Jinwoo Park had ever given anyone. Rhonda didn't know whether to be pleased or annoyed. She settled for confused. The rest of the morning was a blur of tasks that never seemed to end. Clean the kitchen. Wipe down all surfaces. Organize the pantry alphabetically because, of course, everything had to be alphabetical. Vacuum the living room in straight lines. Dust the bookshelves without moving any books out of their precise order. By noon, Rhonda's back was aching and her hands smelled like cleaning solution. The schedule said she had a 30-minute lunch break, so she collapsed onto one of the kitchen stools and pulled out the sandwich she'd brought from home. She was halfway through it when she felt someone watching her. Rhonda looked up. Jinwoo stood in the kitchen doorway, staring at her sandwich like it was a foreign object. "Is that gas station ham?" he asked, his tone somewhere between fascinated and horrified. "Yes. It's cheap, and it fills me up. Problem? I have a refrigerator full of organic free-range artisanal ingredients, and you're eating gas station ham. Your fancy ingredients are for your meals, not mine. You work for me, you eat what's in my kitchen." Jinwoo walked to the refrigerator and started pulling things out. "There's smoked salmon, prosciutto, fresh mozzarella, arugula. I'm fine with my sandwich. You're not fine. You're eating processed meat that's probably 50% sodium and 50% chemicals." Jinwoo was already assembling something on a plate. Fresh bread, fancy cheese, vegetables that looked like they cost more per pound than Rhonda made per hour. He slid the plate across the counter to her. "Eat that instead." Rhonda stared at the beautiful gourmet sandwich, then at Jinwoo, then back at the sandwich. "Why do you care what I eat?" "Because if you get sick from food poisoning, you can't work. And if you can't work, my household falls apart." Jinwoo's voice was logical, practical, completely emotionless. "It's in my best interest to keep you healthy." But as he turned to leave, Rhonda saw something in his expression that didn't match his cold words. Something that looked almost like concern. "No. Impossible." Jinwoo Park didn't care about people. He cared about control and order and getting what he wanted, and what he wanted was a healthy servant who could make a proper omelet. That was all. By 2 p.m., Rhonda was cleaning Jinwoo's bedroom. And that's when things got weird. The bedroom was exactly what she expected. Enormous bed with white linens tucked with military precision, nightstands with perfectly aligned lamps and books, closet full of suits organized by color. It was squeaky clean, and Rhonda felt like she was wasting her time cleaning a room that definitely didn't need cleaning. Rhonda was pretending to dust the already shiny nightstand when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and found Jinwoo standing in the doorway, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Do you need something?" Rhonda asked. "No. Just checking on your progress." "I'm dusting." Not exactly complicated. Nevertheless, Jinwoo stepped into the room, moving closer. Rhonda went back to dusting, very aware of him standing just a few feet away, watching her every move. She reached for the lamp on the far side of the nightstand, stretching across the surface, and that's when Jinwoo moved. He stepped forward quickly, his hand reaching out like he was going to touch her shoulder. But at the last second, he pulled back, his fingers just inches from her shirt. Rhonda spun around. "What are you doing?" "Nothing. I thought you were going to knock over the lamp." Jinwoo's voice was smooth, but Rhonda saw something flash in his eyes. Disappointment? Frustration? "I wasn't going to knock it over." "Of course. My mistake." Jinwoo turned and walked out, leaving Rhonda standing there confused and a little creeped out. What was that about? It happened again at 4 p.m. Rhonda was in the living room organizing the bookshelf when she felt Jinwoo's presence behind her. She glanced over her shoulder and caught him reaching toward her, his hand extended like he was about to tap her on the back. But the moment she turned, he dropped his hand and stepped back. "Yes?" Rhonda asked, her voice suspicious. "I was just going to tell you that you're organizing those books incorrectly. They're in alphabetical order by author, just like the schedule says." "Yes, but within each author, they should be organized by publication date, oldest to newest." "That wasn't in the schedule." "It's implied." "How is that implied?" "By the fact that organization follows a logical hierarchy." Jinwoo's voice was getting tighter, more controlled. "Author, then chronology. It's obvious." "It's not obvious. It's obsessive." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Jinwoo said quietly, "Reorganize them, please," and walked away. Rhonda stood there watching him disappear into his office, and something clicked in her mind. He wasn't actually upset about the books. He'd wanted an excuse to get close to her. But why? If you're as confused as Rhonda, drop a comment right now saying, "What on earth is he doing?" Like and hit subscribe because the answer is coming, and it's going to blow your mind. That night, after Rhonda's shift ended at 6 p.m., she went straight to the hospital to visit Mama Gloria. The surgery had been successful. Mama was still unconscious, still on a ventilator, but Dr. Chen said her vitals were stable, and the tumor removal had gone better than expected. "She's a fighter," Dr. Chen told Rhonda with a tired smile. "The next 72 hours are critical, but I'm optimistic." Rhonda sat beside her mother's bed and held her hand, the one without all the IV lines, and tried not to cry. "I got a job, Mama," Rhonda whispered. "It's weird, and the boss is intense, and I'm pretty sure he's secretly dangerous. But it pays well. Well enough to cover all your medical bills. You're going to get better, and then we're going to go home, and everything's going to be okay." Mama's chest rose and fell with mechanical precision. Rhonda stayed until visiting hours ended, then took 3 buses back to her tiny apartment and collapsed into bed. Tomorrow, she had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to make it to Jinwoo's penthouse by 6 p.m. This was her life now, for the next 2 years. 1 week later. "You're humming." Rhonda looked up from where she was folding laundry, Jinwoo's shirts perfectly pressed and folded according to a diagram he'd given her. "What?" "You've been humming for the past 3 days. Same song every time." Jinwoo stood in the doorway of the laundry room, coffee cup in hand, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What is it?" Rhonda felt her face heat up. She hadn't realized she'd been humming out loud. "Just an old gospel song my mama used to sing when I was little." "Your mother is recovering well, I assume?" Jinwoo's voice was matter of fact. "I paid the bills." "I get the medical updates?" "Dr. Chen says she's responding to treatment better than expected." Something warm bloomed in Rhonda's chest. He was keeping track of Mama's recovery. "Thank you," Rhonda said quietly. For paying for everything. I know I'm working it off. But still. Thank you. Jinwoo looked uncomfortable with the gratitude. It was a business transaction. Nothing more. But as he turned to leave, Rhonda caught him flexing his right hand, the wrist she'd grabbed that night in his office. Like he was remembering something. The weird, almost touching thing kept happening. Every day, multiple times a day, Rhonda would catch Jinwoo nearby, his hand reaching toward her like he was going to tap her shoulder or brush her arm or make some kind of contact. But he always pulled back at the last second. Always found some excuse for why he was close. You missed a spot on the counter. That book is crooked. Your hair was about to catch on the stove flame. The excuses were getting more ridiculous, and Rhonda was getting more confused. Finally, on day 9, she confronted him. Why do you keep doing that? Jinwoo was in the kitchen pretending to inspect the cleanliness of the refrigerator shelves while Rhonda made his afternoon smoothie. He'd been hovering for 10 minutes, clearly working up the nerve to something. Doing what? Jinwoo asked, not looking at her. Getting close to me? Reaching for me? Then pulling away. Rhonda set down the blender and crossed her arms. If you have a problem with my work, just say it. Stop dancing around whatever this is. I don't have a problem with your work. Then what's going on? Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, When you touched my wrist that night in my office, did you feel anything? The question caught Rhonda completely off guard. Feel anything? You mean besides panic that I just destroyed an $80,000 phone? Yes. Besides that. Jinwoo finally looked at her, and his dark eyes were intense, searching. When your skin touched mine, did you feel anything unusual? Rhonda thought back to that moment. The electric shock, the warm tingles that had spread through her whole body. She'd assumed it was just adrenaline, fear, exhaustion. I'm not sure what you mean, Rhonda said carefully, heat rising to her face. Jinwoo studied her face for another moment, then seemed to come to some decision. He held out his hand. Touch me again. What? Your hand on my wrist, like you did before. Jinwoo's voice was calm, clinical, like he was proposing a science experiment. I want to test something. Test what? Just do it. Please. Rhonda stared at his outstretched hand. This was insane. Her boss was asking her to touch him. The same boss who wore gloves to shake hands with other people, who sanitized everything constantly, who couldn't handle contamination. You have OCD, Rhonda said slowly. You don't let people touch you. I know. So why? Because I need to know if it happens again. Jinwoo's voice was tight now, frustrated. Just touch me, Rhonda. Please. The use of her first name made something flutter in Rhonda's chest. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and placed her hand on his wrist. The effect was immediate. Electricity shot through both of them. That same warm, pleasant shock that made Rhonda gasp and Jinwoo's eyes go wide. But this time, Jinwoo didn't pull away. He stood perfectly still, staring at Rhonda's hand on his skin, his breathing coming faster. You feel it? Jinwoo whispered. Don't you? Yes, Rhonda breathed. I feel it. They stood like that for several seconds, Rhonda's hand on Jinwoo's wrist, electricity crackling between them, neither one willing to break the connection. Finally, Rhonda pulled her hand back, her heart pounding. What is that? She asked. Why does that happen? I don't know. Jinwoo was staring at his wrist like it held the secrets of the universe. With everyone else, when they touch me, I feel contaminated, disgusted, like I need to scrub my skin raw. But with you... With you? Rhonda prompted. What? Jinwoo looked up at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes made Rhonda's breath catch. With you, I feel alive. That night, Rhonda couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the moment in the kitchen, the way Jinwoo had looked at her, the electricity between them. With you, I feel alive. What did that mean? And why did Rhonda's traitor heart keep skipping beats when she thought about it? This man owned her for 2 years. He'd trapped her in a debt she couldn't escape. He was controlling and obsessive and impossible to please. She shouldn't feel anything for him except resentment. But when he looked at her with those vulnerable eyes, Rhonda rolled over and groaned into her pillow. Don't be stupid, she told herself. He's your boss. Your captor, basically. Whatever this electricity thing is, it doesn't mean anything. But even as she thought it, Rhonda knew she was lying to herself. 2 weeks later, the day everything changed started normally enough. Rhonda arrived at the penthouse at 6 a.m., made breakfast. A perfect omelet this time. She'd watched 17 YouTube videos and started her cleaning routine. At 2 p.m., the building manager called to inform Jinwoo that the quarterly inspection was scheduled for that afternoon. Jinwoo's face went pale when he got the call. "Today?" he said into the phone, his voice tight. "You're certain it has to be today?" Rhonda watched from the kitchen where she was preparing his afternoon snack. She'd never seen Jinwoo rattled before. His control was always perfect, his composure always intact, but right now, he looked genuinely panicked. "Fine. 2:30. Yes. I understand." Jinwoo hung up and immediately started pacing, his hands flexing and unflexing at his sides. "Is everything okay?" Rhonda asked carefully. "Building inspection. They check all the penthouse units quarterly for safety violations, maintenance issues." Jinwoo's pacing got faster. "They're coming in 2 hours?" "Okay. And that's a problem because the bedroom isn't clean." Rhonda blinked. "I cleaned the bedroom this morning. It's spotless." "You don't understand." Jinwoo ran his hand over his hair, messing it up in a way Rhonda had never seen. "I had an episode last night. A bad one. The bedroom it's not presentable." "An episode?" "My PTSD. I have nightmares sometimes. When they're bad, Jinwoo trailed off, his jaw clenching. "Just go look." Rhonda walked to the bedroom and opened the door and stopped dead. The room looked like a tornado had hit it. The bed was destroyed, blankets twisted and half on the floor, pillows scattered, sheets pulled loose from the corners. Books had been knocked off the nightstand. There was a broken glass on the floor. Even the curtains were half torn from their rods. This wasn't just a messy room. This was evidence of someone having a complete breakdown. "Oh my God," Rhonda whispered. Jinwoo appeared behind her, and she could hear the shame in his voice. "I told you it was bad. What happened?" "I had a nightmare about something from the past." Jinwoo's voice was flat, emotionless, the way people sound when they're talking about trauma they've had to relive 1,000 times. "When I woke up, I was disoriented. I couldn't remember where I was. I thought I was back in the burning house, and I was trying to get out." He gestured helplessly at the destruction. Rhonda turned to look at him, and for the first time since she'd met him, Jinwoo Park looked small, vulnerable, human. "How long do we have before the inspectors get here?" Rhonda asked. "An hour and 45 minutes. "Then we better get started." They worked together in intense silence. Rhonda stripped the bed and remade it with fresh linens while Jinwoo picked up the broken glass and cleaned up the water. She straightened the curtains while he reorganized the books. She vacuumed while he wiped down every surface. At one point, they both reached for the same pillow. Their hands touched. That familiar electricity shot through them both, but neither one pulled away. They just stood there, hands touching, eyes locked, something heavy and intense passing between them. "Thank you," Jinwoo said quietly, "for not asking questions, for just helping." "You're welcome." The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither of them was ready to name. Then Jinwoo's phone buzzed with a reminder. 30 minutes until the inspection. They broke apart and got back to work. The bedroom was perfect by the time the building inspectors arrived. 2 people, a middle-aged white woman with a clipboard and a younger Latino man with a tablet, showed up at exactly 2:30 p.m. "Afternoon," the woman said with a professional smile. "I'm Janet Harris, Building Management. This is my colleague, Carlos Reyes. We're here for the quarterly inspection. Is Mr. Park available?" "He's in a meeting," Rhonda lied smoothly, because Jinwoo had specifically told her to handle this without disturbing him. "I'm Rhonda Mitchell, his household manager. I can show you around." The inspection went smoothly. Janet and Carlos checked the smoke detectors, tested the water pressure, examined the HVAC vents. Everything was perfect because, of course, it was. This was Jinwoo's space, and nothing was ever less than perfect. When they got to the bedroom, Rhonda held her breath. Janet walked around, checking windows, testing outlets, making notes on her clipboard. "Everything looks great in here," she said finally. "Mr. Park maintains his property beautifully." Rhonda let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. After the inspectors left, Rhonda found Jinwoo in his office, staring at his computer screen without actually seeing it. "They're gone," Rhonda said from the doorway. "Everything passed inspection." Jinwoo's shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you For covering. For cleaning, for... He turned to look at her. For not making me feel like a freak about the bedroom. You're not a freak. I destroyed my own room in the middle of the night because I thought I was trapped in a fire from 13 years ago. That's pretty much the definition of a freak. Rhonda walked into the office and sat down in the chair across from his desk. Something she'd never done before. It felt presumptuous. But right now, Jinwoo didn't look like a powerful mafia boss. He looked like a broken man who needed someone to see him. Tell me about the fire, Rhonda said quietly. Please, she added as an afterthought. Jinwoo was silent for so long that Rhonda thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he started talking. I was 8 years old, Jinwoo said, his voice distant. My father worked long hours, so it was usually just me and my little sister Minseo. She was 6. My mother worked evenings, so we were alone a lot. He paused, and Rhonda saw his hands trembling slightly. I was a reckless kid. Wild. Never listened. Never followed rules. My father used to say I had too much energy and not enough sense. Jinwoo's laugh was bitter. He was right. What happened? I found my father's lighter. I'd been told 1,000 times not to play with fire, but I was 8 and stupid and thought I knew better. Jinwoo's voice was getting tighter now, more strained. I was in my bedroom lighting matches, watching them burn. It was fascinating. The way the flame moved, the heat, the power of it. Rhonda could see where this was going, but she stayed quiet, letting him tell it. One of the matches fell onto my bedspread. It caught. I tried to put it out, but it spread so fast. Within seconds, the whole bed was on fire. Then the curtains. Then the walls. Jinwoo's breathing was getting faster. I ran to get Minseo. I thought we could get out together. But the smoke was so thick and the heat was so intense, and I was just a kid, and I didn't know what to do. Jinwoo. My father came home early. He heard us screaming. He ran into the house and got us out. Jinwoo's voice broke. But then he went back for our pet. It was a kitten we had just adopted a month earlier. It was so precious to Minseo and me. Rhonda felt tears burning in her eyes. The house started collapsing while he was inside. We heard him screaming. We heard. Jinwoo stopped, unable to continue for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. Minseo ran back toward the house. She was trying to save him. I tried to grab her, but I was too slow. The front wall collapsed on her. Oh my God. My father died in the fire. Minseo died 3 hours later in the hospital. My mother. Jinwoo's hands were shaking badly now. My mother had a complete mental breakdown. She couldn't look at me. Couldn't stand to be in the same room with me. I'd killed her husband and her daughter. Destroyed her entire world. It was an accident. You were a child. It doesn't matter. Jinwoo's voice was harsh. I caused it. My recklessness, my stupidity, my complete inability to follow simple rules. So my mother signed over custody to my uncle, my father's estranged brother, who I'd met maybe twice. He was already powerful in the organization, had built his own empire. Did you ever see your mother again? Once, at the funeral. She looked at me like I was a monster, like I'd personally murdered her family. I've never forgotten that look. Jinwoo's eyes were distant, reliving that moment. My uncle raised me, gave me everything money could buy, sent me to the best schools, taught me the family business. When he died 5 years ago, I inherited everything. But he never let me forget what I'd done, what I'd destroyed. Rhonda's heart was breaking for this man who'd been carrying this guilt for almost 25 years. Is that why you have OCD? Rhonda asked gently. The need for control? The psychiatrists say it's a trauma response. I lost control once and it destroyed everything. Now I can't tolerate even the smallest chaos. Everything has to be perfect, ordered, clean, safe. Jinwoo's laugh was hollow. The OCD is my punishment, my prison, and I deserve it. That's not true. It is true. I killed 2 people, Rhonda, because I couldn't follow one simple rule. Jinwoo finally looked at her, and his eyes were full of self-loathing. So yes, I deserve to live like this. In a sterile cage of my own making. It's the least I can do. Rhonda stood up and walked around the desk. Jinwoo watched her warily, like he wasn't sure what she was going to do. She held out her hand. What are you doing? Jinwoo asked. Give me your hand, just do it. Slowly, Jinwoo placed his hand in hers. The electric sensation was there, just like always. But this time, Rhonda didn't let it distract her. She squeezed his hand gently and said, "You were 8 years old. A child. What happened was a tragic accident. But it wasn't your fault. You didn't murder anyone. You didn't destroy anything on purpose. You were just a kid who made a mistake. You don't understand. I understand that you've been punishing yourself for 24 years for something that wasn't your fault. I understand that your mother was grieving and in pain and she shouldn't have looked at you that way. I understand that your uncle should have gotten you therapy instead of just molding you into his successor." Rhonda's voice was firm. "And I understand that living in this perfect prison isn't honoring your father and sister. It's just slowly killing you." Jinwoo's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I can't let go of the control. If I do, you won't burn down the world, you'll just start living in it again." They stood like that for a long moment, hands clasped, something profound passing between them. Then Jinwoo pulled his hand away gently and said, "Thank you for listening." "You're welcome." Rhonda turned to leave, but Jinwoo's voice stopped her. "Rhonda, tomorrow is Sunday. Your day off. Would you—" He hesitated, like he wasn't sure how to finish the sentence. "Would you mind if I came with you to visit your mother?" Rhonda turned back, surprised. "You want to come to the hospital?" "I know I have issues with hospitals, germs, contamination, all of that. But I'd like to meet the woman who raised someone like you. If that's okay." Something warm bloomed in Rhonda's chest. "Yeah," she said softly. "That would be okay. If you think Jinwoo and Rhonda are falling for each other and you need to see what happens next, comment, 'Fall in love already.' Hit that like button if your heart is aching for these two broken people finding each other, and keep watching because this story is going to take you on an emotional roller coaster that ends in the most beautiful way possible." Sunday morning arrived cool and clear, the kind of Chicago autumn day that made the city look almost magical. Rhonda stood outside Cook County Hospital at 9 a.m., checking her phone for the third time. Jinwoo had texted 20 minutes ago. "On my way. Traffic is heavy." She still couldn't quite believe he was actually coming. Jinwoo Park, germaphobe mafia boss with a hospital phobia, voluntarily going into the place he found most disgusting. For her. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb, and Jinwoo emerged from the back seat. Rhonda's breath caught. He looked good. Really good. He'd dressed down, or what counted as dressed down for him, in dark jeans, a gray Henley that showed off his muscular frame, and a leather jacket that probably cost more than Rhonda's entire wardrobe. But it was his face that made Rhonda's heart skip. He looked nervous, vulnerable, human. "Hey," Jinwoo said, stopping a few feet away from her. "Hey yourself." Rhonda noticed he was carrying a small bag. "What's that?" "Supplies." Jinwoo opened the bag to reveal hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, disposable gloves, and a small spray bottle of something that probably killed every germ known to mankind. "I'm going into a hospital. I need to be prepared." Rhonda wanted to make fun of him. But the fact that he was doing this at all, facing one of his biggest fears just to meet her mother, made her throat tight. "You don't have to do this, you know," Rhonda said softly. "I know how hard this is for you. I want to do this." Jinwoo met her eyes. "I want to meet the woman who raised someone strong enough to stand up to me." Something warm bloomed in Rhonda's chest. "She's still pretty out of it from the medication. She might not even wake up. That's okay. I just want to be there. With you." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning neither of them was ready to examine too closely. "Okay," Rhonda said finally, "but if you need to leave at any point, just say the word." "I'll be fine." He wasn't fine. Jinwoo made it exactly 17 steps into the hospital before his breathing got shallow. "You okay?" Rhonda asked, watching him eye the hand sanitizer dispenser on the wall like it might attack him. "Fine," Jinwoo said tightly. He pulled out his own sanitizer and used it liberally, then snapped on a pair of disposable gloves. "Just fine." They got on the elevator with 3 other people. Jinwoo immediately pressed himself into the corner, trying to minimize contact with any of them. His jaw was clenched so tight Rhonda could see the muscle jumping. When a nurse with a clipboard accidentally brushed against his arm, Jinwoo flinched so hard he nearly hit the wall. "Sorry," the nurse said cheerfully, not noticing his distress. Jinwoo didn't respond. He just stood there, rigid. Rhonda reached out and touched his hand, the small patch of skin between his glove and his jacket sleeve. Jinwoo's eyes met hers, and she saw the panic receding slightly. "You're doing great," Rhonda whispered. "I'm having a panic attack in an elevator. But you're still here. That's what counts." Jinwoo's fingers curled slightly, almost like he wanted to hold her hand properly, but the elevator dinged and the doors opened. They made it to Mama Gloria's room without Jinwoo bolting, which Rhonda counted as a victory. Mama Gloria was awake. For the first time since the surgery, her eyes were open and alert. And when she saw Rhonda, her face lit up with a smile that made Rhonda's heart soar. "Baby girl," Mama said, her voice hoarse from the breathing tube they'd removed yesterday. "Come here." Rhonda rushed to her mother's bedside and carefully hugged her, trying not to disturb any of the IV lines. "Mama, you're awake. How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck. But I'm alive." Mama's eyes shifted to Jinwoo, who was standing awkwardly by the door, clearly trying to touch as few surfaces as possible. "And who's this handsome man you brought with you?" Rhonda felt her face heat. "Mama, this is Jinwoo. My boss." "Your boss?" Mama's eyes sharpened despite her weakened state. "The one who paid my medical bills?" "Yes, ma'am," Jinwoo said, stepping forward carefully. He didn't extend his hand. Couldn't, with his glove phobia. But he nodded respectfully. "It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Mitchell. Your daughter speaks very highly of you." "Does she now?" Mama studied Jinwoo with an intensity that made Rhonda nervous. Gloria Mitchell might be recovering from major surgery, but her mama radar was still fully operational. "And how exactly does my daughter's boss end up paying $300,000 in medical bills?" "Oh no, Mama, I told you I got a new job." "A job that pays $300,000 upfront for a girl with no college degree?" Mama's eyes never left Jinwoo. "That's not a job, baby. That's something else entirely." Jinwoo, to his credit, didn't flinch. "Your daughter is working off the debt. She's serving as my household manager for the next 2 years at an hourly rate that will cover the medical expenses." 2 years of servitude for my medical bills." Mama's voice was flat. "So you bought my daughter?" "I didn't buy. You trapped her in a contract she couldn't refuse, because the alternative was letting me die." Mama's voice was getting stronger now, fueled by righteous anger. "That's not generosity, Mr. Park. That's coercion." The room fell silent. Rhonda had never heard anyone speak to Jinwoo like that. Most people were too intimidated by his reputation and power, but Gloria Mitchell had spent 20 years raising a daughter on her own while working 2 jobs and fighting poverty. A mafia boss with control issues didn't scare her. "You're right," Jinwoo said quietly. Rhonda's head whipped around to stare at him. "What?" "Your mother is right. I did coerce you. I used your desperation against you to get what I wanted." Jinwoo's voice was steady, but his eyes were pained. "At the time, I told myself it was just business, a transaction. But the truth is more complicated than that." "What truth?" Mama asked sharply. Jinwoo looked at Rhonda and something vulnerable passed across his face. "The truth is that your daughter is the only person who's ever touched me without making me feel contaminated. The truth is that I trapped her in this arrangement because I'm selfish and broken, and I wanted to figure out why she affects me the way she does." Jinwoo turned back to Mama Gloria. "The truth is, I'm falling for your daughter, and I don't know how to handle that without trying to control it." Rhonda forgot how to breathe. Did Jinwoo just say he was falling for her? Mama Gloria stared at Jinwoo for a long moment. Then she said, "Sit down, Mr. Park. Let's talk." Jinwoo sat in the chair beside Mama's bed, looking more nervous than Rhonda had ever seen him. "You got OCD?" Mama asked bluntly. "Yes, ma'am." "Trauma?" "Yes." "You in therapy?" "No." Mama's expression said everything about what she thought of that answer. "Why not?" "Because I don't deserve to get better. I caused a fire when I was 8 years old that killed my father and my little sister. My OCD is my punishment for that." Mama was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." Jinwoo blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Dumbest thing ever." Mama shifted in her bed, wincing slightly. "You were a child. Children make mistakes. Tragic, awful mistakes sometimes, but mistakes nonetheless. Punishing yourself for the rest of your life doesn't honor the people you lost. It just wastes the life you still have." "Mrs. Mitchell? And using my daughter as some kind of guinea pig to figure out your feelings? That's selfish, and it's wrong." Mama's eyes were fierce now, but I can see you know that. I can see you feel guilty about it. So here's what's going to happen. Everyone waited. You're going to therapy. Real therapy, not just medication. You're going to work on your issues like a grown man instead of hiding behind your money and your control. Mama pointed a finger at Jinwoo. And you're going to release my daughter from this contract immediately. Mama, Rhonda protested. Hush, baby, I'm not done. Mama turned that finger toward Rhonda. And you. If you want to keep working for this man, that's your choice. But it has to be a choice, not an obligation. You understand me? Rhonda nodded, too stunned to speak. Mama looked back at Jinwoo. You love my daughter? Jinwoo swallowed hard. I think I might. It's complicated. Love is always complicated, but it shouldn't be transactional. So, if you want to be with Rhonda, you court her properly. You date her. You treat her with respect and dignity. And if she chooses you, it's because she wants you, not because she owes you. Clear? Yes, ma'am. Good. Mama leaned back against her pillows, suddenly looking exhausted. And when you're done, then I can thank you properly for saving my life without feeling like my daughter enslaved herself for it. Rhonda and Jinwoo stood in the hospital parking lot, neither one knowing what to say. Finally, Jinwoo broke the silence. Your mother is terrifying. Despite everything, Rhonda laughed. Yeah, she's something else. She's also right about everything. Jinwoo turned to face Rhonda fully. I'm releasing you from the contract, effective immediately. The debt is forgiven. You're free. Rhonda's heart dropped. What? No, Jinwoo, the money. The money doesn't matter. It never mattered. Jinwoo's voice was intense. What matters is that I trapped you in a situation you never chose, and that was wrong. So I'm making it right. But I don't want— Let me finish. Jinwoo took a breath. I'm releasing you from the contract, but I'm also asking if you'd consider staying, not as my employee, as something else. Something else? I don't know what to call it yet, but I know that when you're around, my apartment feels like a home instead of a sterile cage. I know that when you touch me, I feel alive for the first time in 24 years. I know that you make me want to be better, to get help, to actually live, instead of just existing. Rhonda's eyes were burning with tears she refused to let fall. Rhonda, you don't have to answer now. Take time. Think about it. But I need you to know that if you walk away right now, I'll understand. And I'll still make sure your mother gets the best care for the rest of her life. No strings, no debt. Just because you deserve it. This man, this broken, complicated, impossible man, was offering her freedom. And all Rhonda wanted to do was choose him anyway. I need to think, Rhonda said finally. This is a lot. I know. Take all the time you need. Jinwoo called his driver to take Rhonda home. And as the car pulled away, Rhonda looked back to see him standing in the parking lot, looking more alone than she'd ever seen him. 3 days later, Rhonda hadn't gone back to the penthouse. For 3 days, she stayed away, thinking, processing, trying to figure out what she wanted. Jinwoo had been true to his word. He'd sent her a formal release from the contract, signed and notarized. Her debt was forgiven. She was free. And Mama's medical bills continued to be paid, even though Rhonda no longer worked for Jinwoo. On the 3rd day, Tasha came over with pizza and wine. Okay, talk to me, Tasha said, flopping onto Rhonda's ratty couch. You've been radio silent for 3 days. What's going on? Rhonda told her everything. The contract release, Jinwoo's confession, Mama's intervention. When she finished, Tasha was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Do you love him? I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated. It's always complicated with you. Tasha took a bite of pizza. But here's the real question. Do you want to find out if you love him? Because that's different from knowing for sure. Did Rhonda want to find out? She thought about Jinwoo's vulnerable eyes when he talked about the fire. The way he'd faced his hospital phobia just to meet her mother. The electricity that sparked between them every time they touched. The way he'd set her free, even though it cost him everything. Yeah, Rhonda said softly. I think I do. Then what are you waiting for? Go get your man. Rhonda showed up at Jinwoo's penthouse at 6:01 p.m. on a Thursday, her heart pounding. She used the key card he'd never asked her to return and rode the elevator up. The penthouse was dark when she arrived. No lights, no sound. Jinwoo? Rhonda called out. No answer. She walked through the living room and noticed something that made her stop dead. There were dishes in the sink, a coffee mug on the counter, a jacket thrown over a chair instead of hung in the closet. Jinwoo's perfect order was falling apart. He hadn't called his house staff back yet. She found him in his bedroom, sitting on the floor with his back against the bed, staring at nothing. The room was a mess. Not as bad as after his nightmare, but definitely not the pristine space Rhonda was used to seeing. Jinwoo. He looked up, and the surprise on his face was almost comical. Rhonda, what are you doing here? I came to give you my answer. Jinwoo stood up slowly, his expression carefully neutral. And? But first I need to know something. Rhonda stepped closer. That first night in your office, did you really feel something when we touched, or was that just a line to trap me? I felt it. Jinwoo's voice was raw, honest. I've spent my whole life recoiling from human touch, and then you grabbed my wrist and I felt alive. It terrified me. So I trapped you because I'm selfish, and I wanted to understand it. To understand you? And do you understand me? No. But I want to spend however long it takes learning. Rhonda closed the distance between them until they were standing inches apart. I have conditions, she said firmly. Anything. First, you start therapy. Real therapy. This week. Done. Second, you stop using your OCD as punishment. You work on getting better because you deserve to heal, not because I'm asking you to. Okay. Third, we date like normal people. You take me to dinner. We go to movies. We figure out if this electricity between us is real or just some weird psychological reaction to trauma and desperation. Jinwoo's lips twitched into almost a smile. Those are fair conditions. And fourth? Rhonda reached out and took his hand, feeling that familiar shock run through both of them. You let me help you clean up this mess, because partners don't let partners drown alone. Jinwoo's eyes went bright with emotion. Partners? If you want to be. Instead of answering with words, Jinwoo did something that shocked them both. He pulled her close and wrapped his arms around her in a full embrace. Rhonda gasped. Jinwoo touching her freely like this still shocked her every time. Jinwoo, you're OCD. Won't this make you panic? I thought it would, Jinwoo murmured into her hair. But it doesn't. With you, it doesn't. They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other, feeling the electricity flow between them. Not just the strange shock, but something deeper. Something real. Finally, Jinwoo pulled back slightly to look at her. I need to test something, he said quietly. Test what? A theory about why I can touch you without feeling contaminated. Jinwoo's thumb traced her jawline, his eyes intense. I think you might be my antidote. The one person who can break through my compulsions, but I need to be sure. How do you test that? Jinwoo's eyes dropped to her lips. If I can kiss you without recoiling or panicking, I'll know for certain that what I feel for you is stronger than my disorder. Rhonda's heart was racing so fast she thought it might explode. And if you can't? Then we figure it out together. But Rhonda, I need to know. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, Rhonda rose up on her toes and closed the distance between them. The moment Jinwoo's lips touched Rhonda's, the world stopped. It wasn't just the electricity that sent pleasant tingles through every nerve ending. It was the way Jinwoo kissed her. Like she was precious. Like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. One of his hands cupped her face, the other wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. And he didn't pull away. Didn't panic. Didn't recoil. He just kissed her deeper, like he was drowning and she was air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jinwoo pressed his forehead against hers. I think I've found my antidote, he whispered. Rhonda's laugh was shaky, emotional. That was very smooth. I'm serious. You're the cure to everything that's broken in me. I'm not a cure, Jinwoo. I'm just a person. Rhonda pulled back to look at him properly. You still need therapy. You still need to work on yourself. I can't fix you. I know. But you make me want to fix myself. That's more than anyone's ever done. They kissed again, slower this time, sweeter. And then Rhonda's phone rang. She groaned and pulled it out. The hospital. Hello? Miss Mitchell, this is Dr. Chen. I wanted to let you know your mother is being released in about a week. Her recovery has exceeded all our expectations. Rhonda felt tears spring to her eyes. Really? She can come home? Yes. She'll need follow-up care and ongoing monitoring, but the cancer is in remission. Your mother beat it, Miss Mitchell. After Rhonda hung up, she turned to Jinwoo with tears streaming down her face. Mama's coming home. She beat it. She actually beat it. Jinwoo pulled her into another hug, and Rhonda felt his chest shake with emotion too. They stood like that in his messy bedroom, holding each other. Two broken people who'd somehow found healing in each other. Life was perfect for them in that moment, but someone from the past was about to turn everything upside down. 1 week later, the knock on Jinwoo's door came at 3:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. Jinwoo opened it to find a woman he hadn't seen since he was 8. His mother. Hello, Jinwoo. Everything inside Jinwoo went cold. How did you find me? You're the head of the park organization. You're not exactly hard to find. His mother, Heejin Park, stepped into the penthouse without being invited. We need to talk. Just then, Rhonda came out of the kitchen, having heard the muffled conversation from the doorway, dish towel in hand. Heejin took one look at her and sneered. Who is this? Your girlfriend? Your wife? She asked it with so much spite directed at Rhonda that Rhonda took a step back from the force of it. Why do you care? Jinwoo shot back, noticing Rhonda's unease. You stopped caring about my life several years ago, remember? You don't deserve happiness, Jinwoo. Not after what you did to this family. Rhonda stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, a dish towel still in her hands, watching this stranger tear into Jinwoo with a viciousness that made the air feel toxic. Mom, please. Jinwoo's voice was strained, his usual confidence completely gone. Don't call me that. The woman, Jinwoo's mother, snapped. You lost the right to call me that years ago when you killed my husband and daughter. Rhonda's breath caught. This was Jinwoo's mother, the woman who'd abandoned him after the fire. I didn't murder them. It was an accident. An accident you caused? An accident that destroyed everything. Heejin stepped closer, her finger jabbing at his chest. And then, you abandoned me. Left me in that facility to rot while you went off to live in luxury with your uncle's empire. You didn't even visit. Not once. You told the doctors you didn't want to see me. Jinwoo's voice was rising now, desperate. You said looking at me made you sick, so you just gave up. Just walked away from your own son. I was 8 years old. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Heejin's face twisted with something between grief and fury. And now I hear you're playing house with some girl. Planning to be happy. Planning to just forget what you did and move on with your life. She turned and looked directly at Rhonda. Is that her? Is that the girl you think can save you? You heartless son of a... Stop, Rhonda said firmly, stepping between Jinwoo and his mother. Just stop. Hyejin turned her fury on Rhonda. This doesn't concern you, girl. Yes, it does. Because I love him. And I'm not going to stand here and let you abuse him for something that happened when he was a child. You don't understand what he took from me. I understand grief. I understand loss. My mama almost died from cancer. I spent months watching her waste away, knowing I might lose the only parent I have. Rhonda's voice was steady, strong. And you know what I never did? I never blamed her for getting sick. I never told her she didn't deserve to live. Because that's not love. That's cruelty. Hyejin's mouth opened but no sound came out. Jinwoo was 8 years old, Rhonda continued. A child. And instead of helping him heal from the trauma of watching his father and sister die, you abandoned him. You told him he was a murderer. You looked at him with hatred and disgust. And then, you walked away. He took my family from me. A fire took your family. An accident took your family. Rhonda's voice rose. Jinwoo lost his father too, and his sister. And then he lost his mother because you were too consumed by grief to see that you still had a son who needed you. You were hurting from the loss. He was also hurting from the loss. The guilt of feeling responsible. Tears filled Rhonda's eyes despite her desperate attempts to fight them back. I can't imagine your pain as a mother and wife experiencing all that in one day. I understand to some extent hating him for it. But completely cutting him out of your life? Can you imagine an 8-year-old boy who just lost his dad and sister, thrown out by the only parent he had left? The only person he could turn to for comfort? Hyejin was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I spent 20 years in facilities, she whispered. Mental hospitals, treatment centers. Do you know what that does to a person? Again, I can't imagine. I won't lie and say I understand. But Jinwoo spent the same years punishing himself for it. Together, you could have helped each other heal. Apart, things just got worse. Mother and son stared at each other across the penthouse. Two people destroyed by the same tragedy, separated by guilt and grief and time. I wanted to come see you, Jinwoo said quietly. After the fire, I tried to visit you in the hospital, but they said you didn't want to see me. I couldn't look at you without seeing your father's face, your sister's smile, everything I'd lost. So you lost me too. Hyejin's face crumpled. I know. I know I failed you. I was drowning in grief, and I let you drown with me, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was the apology Jinwoo had needed for years. He stood frozen, not knowing how to respond. Rhonda gently pushed him forward. Talk to her. Really talk. Both of you. She slipped away to the kitchen. 3 hours later, Rhonda found Jinwoo and Hyejin sitting on the couch, a photo album opened between them. They were looking at pictures from before the fire. A family of 4, smiling, happy, whole. That's Minseo, Hyejin said, pointing to a little girl with pigtails. She was so much like you, reckless and wild and full of life. I don't remember her laugh, Jinwoo admitted quietly. I've tried, but I can't remember what her laugh sounded like. It sounded like bells, high and clear and joyful. Hyejin's voice was thick with tears. She would have loved seeing the man you became. They kept talking, sharing memories, beginning the long process of rebuilding what the fire had destroyed. Rhonda slipped away to give them privacy. 2 days later, Jinwoo stood in Rhonda's tiny apartment, looking completely out of place among the thrift store furniture and peeling paint. Your mother is being released from the hospital today, he said. I know, I'm picking her up in an hour. Where will she stay? Here? Rhonda looked around at her cramped studio apartment, barely big enough for one person, let alone 2. We'll make it work. What if I have a better idea? Jinwoo pulled out a key. I own a building downtown, luxury apartments. There's a 2-bedroom unit on the 5th floor with a view of the river. It's yours for as long as you need it. No rent. I can't accept that. It's not charity. It's me making sure the woman I love and the mother of the woman I love have a safe, comfortable place to recover and heal. Jinwoo pressed the key into her hand. Please let me do this. Rhonda looked at the key, then at Jinwoo's face. So open, so vulnerable, so full of hope. Okay, she whispered. Thank you. Jinwoo took both her hands in his. That's the least I can do for you, Rhonda. Whatever you want, whatever you need, don't forget to always let me know. Rhonda rose up and kissed him, putting everything she felt into it. Gratitude, love, hope, joy. When they broke apart, Jinwoo was smiling, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. I started therapy, by the way, he said. Yesterday, first session. How was it? Terrible, uncomfortable. I hated every second. Jinwoo's smile widened. I'm going back next week. I'm proud of you. My therapist wants to meet you eventually. She says you're a significant factor in my progress. Your progress? Apparently, having someone who makes you want to heal is a powerful motivator. Jinwoo pulled her close again. You make me want to heal, Rhonda. You make me want to be better. Not perfect. Just better. Good. Because I don't want perfect. I want real. They stood in Rhonda's cramped apartment, holding each other. And for the first time in either of their lives, they both felt like they'd found home. 1 year after Rhonda fell asleep in Jinwoo's office, they returned to the Park building together. The executive suite on the 68th floor looked exactly the same. Pristine, perfect, controlled. Except now there was a photo on Jinwoo's desk, him and Rhonda laughing at something off camera, his arms around her waist, her head thrown back in joy. Real, imperfect, beautiful. I still can't believe you kept that chair, Rhonda said, looking at the Italian leather executive chair where this all started. Are you kidding? That chair is significant. It's where I found you, where everything changed. Where you woke me up with a ruler and threatened to have me arrested. Details. Jinwoo grinned and pulled her down into the chair with him. Make a wish. A wish? You fell asleep in this chair a year ago, desperate and exhausted. Now you're here by choice, happy and healthy. That seems like a good reason to make a wish. Rhonda closed her eyes and thought about everything that had happened in the past year. Mama's recovery, the debt forgiven, Jinwoo's therapy, Hyejin's return. the messy, complicated, beautiful relationship they'd built. She opened her eyes and looked at the man who'd trapped her, and then set her free. "I wish for more of this," Rhonda said simply. "More growth, more healing, more love, more of us figuring out life together." "That's a good wish," Jinwoo murmured, kissing her softly. "I'll help you make it come true." And he did. Love isn't about perfection or control. It's about choosing to grow together. Even when it's messy and hard, it's about finding someone who makes you want to heal. Not because they fix you, but because they make you believe you're worth fixing. And sometimes, just sometimes, the worst day of your life leads you directly to the best thing that ever happened to you. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Comment below telling me your favorite moment from this story, and subscribe because we have more incredible stories coming that will make you laugh, cry, and believe in the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.